I made you folks a presentation. So today we're going to take a look at BT21's early impressions. It's like a week out. I basically like took all the major decks from this set, gave them a try, and yeah, so welcome to my TED Talk. The basic idea is that these are the decks I'm going to cover. Adventure, Appmon, Galacticmon, Gammamon, Heroes, Hunters, Medusamon, Megidramon, Red Hybrid, Shine Greymon, and Vmon Armor. When do you even find the time to play the game? Brother. The question you should be asking is, when do I find the time to sleep? What I will do is I'll go through each of the decks, and I guess in the midpoints after I speak about the decks, if folks have questions, I'll be happy to answer them best I can. Again, this is only like the first week, so if you're watching this 4 months out, do not expect like everything to have stayed the same. Things will definitely change, but it's just like my opinions and like insights from the first week of like trying out the decks. So let's start again. I'm going to do the deck, and then I'll take questions after that, and then we'll just keep moving through all of them. And then I'll do a quick summary of what I think like the entire environment for the game looks like at the very end. There's like one slide for that. So Adventure, this is the first deck that I came up with, and it's kind of a misnomer because I said I'm going to be covering all of BT21, but it has the tie in there, which is 21, and the starter decks released at the same time as the entire set itself, so I just put it all together, and I said, I'll just do Adventure as well. I have a video coming out about Adventure for beginners. It'll be like a beginner guide, similar to how I did the Excel guide for beginner folks. And in that, I'll like kind of present 2 easy ways to build this deck, because if you look at the very bottom here, I don't think this is an easy deck to use. I think some of the Japanese players also kind of echoed the same ideas, and they're like, this is a starter deck, but this isn't a starter deck. This deck is hard to use. I mean that in the sense that like the deck has a really high ceiling. There's a really interesting pool of cards that have a lot of different effects. Inheritance effects also all change, and there's just a lot that's going on. I will say though, offensively it feels like really strong. Every level 5 just having Alliance is really cool. Defensively they have some neat little tools. I mean, they've got the Ace plays. They've got a little bit of like low-level destruction on some of the purple cards, thanks to the Garurumon line. They've also got D-Digivolve, which is nice, and then you can sometimes bully on the board using the Black Greymon from BT21, which is nice. And overall, I think what I really liked about this deck, I tried the, again, there's a bunch of different ways you can build this deck, but I really didn't really vibe with the Metal Garurumon, like all in, try to just like go face and like hit as hard as you possibly can, just like be super aggro. I actually like the War Greymon a little bit better. Just like the defensive tools feels really nice. The War Greymon's really cool. And when you like combo that with the 1-2 punch of like the promo War Greymon, it actually feels kind of good, because he's hitting for 3, But yeah, the deck feels really fast, flexible, and there's lots and lots of really little intricate combos. Like a lot of folks are talking about, you have like the War Greymon stack that has a Togemon in the line and the Tsunemon in the line. So you evolve into Skull Greymon. He can attack. If he dies, then you get to play level 4. So you play the Togemon, and then, or before that, you basically use the Tsunemon to pull back the Skull Greymon. You can play the Togemon from the trash using the Skull Greymon's effect, and then you can evolve it, because you have 3 Tamer colors, back into the Skull Greymon. So like you just got like a small little loop off those 3 cards. There's lots of little stuff like that in the deck. Outside of that, I don't know whose idea this was, but giving a single deck the Tentomon Floodgate, which is what you can't play Digimon you can't gain memory except by Tamers, and the Gomamon effect that says you can't reduce Digivolution costs, was diabolical. That is like the perfect combination of pretty much every kind of like memory cheat that like the most like best decks in the game have right now. Outside of like something like a Psychemon, but outside of that, those 2 together are diabolical. And I did mention how hard it was to use, but it does feel like a deck you can grow with. I like the fact that you can take a starter deck like this, and while you might not be able to execute it perfectly when you first start using it, you have like the basic ideas down, and then the better you get, the better the deck seems to get as well. And so I like the idea that you can basically get this starter deck, or like you get 2 starter decks, and you've got a lot you can do with that for a long time. Like if you wanted to just like hone in on Adventure for like a set or 2, you could do that. So I really like that part. Like as a beginner, the deck itself is, I think, quite complicated at the higher levels, but it's a deck that you can play at the lower levels and still feel like you're doing something right. And then as you play it and get more familiar with it, the deck feels stronger. And so it also gives you the sense of like you're also getting better because you can recognize the plays. Some of the challenges, I think that the deck is really slow without the 3 colors of Tamers. It feels like everything in the deck that's like really powerful needs you to have tamers of at least 3 colors or 3 colors worth of tamers on the board. This usually involves like 1 white tie and then like 1 of the other tamers, or you can just have 2 of the other tamers. That's like 4. And the other part is like sometimes you can get lost in the maze. I think that it is a deck you can grow with, but I'm not a beginner, so it's hard for me to have this like viewpoint. But I try to put myself in someone else's shoes where I say, okay, if I have this deck with all of these effects, it might be a little bit overwhelming. And even if I know the deck a little bit, I feel like I still might be overwhelmed with all of the number of effects. So you might just get lost in the maze during turns, and that's no good for anyone, right? Like decision paralysis. Yeah, that's like my one like biggest drawback for this being a starter deck. I think if this was an advanced deck, it'd have been fine. As a starter deck, though, I think it is, you can get like, there's like 2 kinds of people, right? There's people who like attack a problem head on, and people who are like, that's a problem and I don't really want to solve it, so I'm just gonna like not do it. And I'm worried about those people over there. And so that's pretty much Adventure. I think it's a really fun deck. It's like super flexible. You don't need a lot. Like you grab like 2 or 3 tie tamers and like 2 starter decks and 1 of each, and then you're pretty much off to the races. Let me see. Any questions? Made the aggressive version and a control version, putting all the eggs in the aggressive basket, and the control one has been doing much better in testing. Oh, interesting. I feel like I had the opposite, where I'm like, maybe it's just my style of play. I feel like really weak if I have like no board. I'm just like running in things like a glass cannon, you know? Hey, newbie, this is the Digimon TCG. Read all of the text and remember all of the triggers. Yeah, I think that Japanese players are starting to remember that, or not realize that like the game is actually getting a little bit complicated. What is the adventure engine indeed? Can the deck run okay-ish without Taichi? Can't afford it right now. You can make some moves without Tai, but the fact that he's a 3-memory setter and the fact that he can basically bounce himself, get around a Psychemon, and basically play almost anything you need in the deck is really strong. He's a great like comeback card when you have him set up alongside like the tamer that gives you blocker or the tamer that gives you rush. Basically getting a free Digimon down to attack immediately for essentially 0 cost is really good. You can kind of like supplement that or like replace that a little bit with like the regular tamers that can reduce cost whenever you play Digimon, but because he does it for 3 and then he starts at 3 whereas the other tamers just start at 0, is definitely a big difference. The options are also really good. Yeah. How many versions of adventure decks can you make? A lot. I think you can, yeah, because like you can use the adventure cards, and then because it's made of the adventure Digimon and they all pretty much have like established lines in the game already, you don't even have to use all of the adventure cards for the adventure deck. Like if you want to like put those in like another deck, you can, or if you want to like try to mix and meld some of those decks, well, that also might be possible. I'm using it without Taichi. Yeah, I think you just run a couple more of the other like starter deck tamers, and for that should like power you through until you find some Taichis. Yeah, the price for Taichi was crazy. I think I got him on release for like 1,200 yen, something like that, and now it's like over 3K. Yeah, people are like, the trade-in value is like 3K. Yeah, I say Adventure probably only needs like 2 or 3 ties. I'm replacing Tai with Analog Youth right now. Damn. If my stuff dies, I get to play another one. Analog Youth gives me memory back. That's actually not a bad idea. You're going to fill your trash up really fast, though. So maybe if you're running like the aggressive build, that's a good way to go about it. Yeah, keep in mind, the Tai Tamer is also a hero card. So if you're running the hero deck as well, he just fits into there just like you would in the adventure deck. Underpriced in the West? I mean, good card. Good card. I always want to ask you, what's your opinion on the speed of the game currently? It feels a bit more like Yu-Gi-Oh! Than old DCG we're used to. I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Around Yatagarasu for obvious reasons. I don't know what current like Yu-Gi-Oh! Feels like. I'm kind of okay with like the speed of Digimon right now. Games don't take too long, and so you can play a couple of games and just jam games as much as you want. But it doesn't feel like games are so short that like you're not doing anything. Like I think everyone kind of realized that Frinulugomon, that kind of like 2-turn OTK is like, all right, calm down. Calm down. Megidra, we'll see about him. Would the new aces be good to run Omni Ace? That's a good question. I don't know. I actually didn't try Omni Ace, but that kind of makes sense. I think you'd need a lot, though. You need to be able to set up one of the aces on board. She's not that bad. If you can collect another one in hand, you get the blast. You should be all right. And because War Greymon can prevent himself being affected by Digimon effects, it might be easier to get the Omni Ace out. So you just hold on to the Metal Garurumon and then go into the War Greymon from hand. Oh no, you hold on to the Metal Garurumon in hand and then blast with him. That's actually not a bad idea. You give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. How's your opinion on the promo BT21 Greymon? I think that, the War Greymon rather, I think he's actually better than folks thought. Having security attack +1 and being able to get buffs for DP based on how many tamers you have, which is what the deck already does, seems pretty good. And the fact that you already have Alliance alongside that, so you're checking for 3. He blows up something when he's evolved into. It's not bad. I think if you're looking for a level 6 in the deck that's got like some not staying power, but like some like oomph behind it and won't cost you overflow if it dies, he's a great choice. And honestly, the deck doesn't have anything else unless you want to go outside of the adventure like archetype. How much decision paralysis do you see in games versus adventure players? I haven't played a bunch of adventure players this week, and most of the ones that I did were like seasoned players, like the core group of players here in Akihabara. Like those guys aren't getting decision paralysis. They're the ones like teaching me combos like mid game, like, oh shit, you could do that. Oh, okay, nice. But yeah, that's adventure. So really cool deck. If you haven't tried it, then definitely give it a try. I gave my Wargrey away during trades during pre-release. Oof, I'm so sorry, little one. Yeah, I think it's like, for an Honorable Flow level 6, it's a great choice. Anyway, moving on, we'll take a look at the next deck, which is Appmon. So this is like the completely new deck for BT21, not like starter decks. And I think Appmon is a really middle-of-the-road deck. It does a lot of things decently well, and a little bit of oomph at the upper end gives us some nice offensive power, so that once you go from your level 5 to your level 6 in a single turn, the game is almost over, if not already over. I think offensively it's really good. The power of Globemon plus Gaiamon at level 5 and level 6 are very strong. And like what I liked about this deck is like most of the time whenever you're fighting against a deck, you can think to yourself, okay, they have X thing on board and I gave them Y memory to work with. So they can get to at most Z Digimon based on what this like the board setup looks like. So you can kind of like assume what effects might be coming based on like what Digimon they can get to. But when your opponent has linking at their disposal, all that goes out the window. You have so many options because you can link so many things during a turn. You have to assume all of the link options in the deck essentially. So I like that. Like you never feel like you're stuck with like 1 or 2 choices. Like I mentioned before, Globemon and Gaiamon feel awesome. When you get to those, like you really like making like huge impactful plays. And defensively, Taimon is a menace. Whoever thought that you could just like give a Digimon whenever it's linked to de-digivolve something 1, and then whenever it links also de-digivolve something 1 is diabolical. Considering when you get to like the Globemon and the Gaiamon, you can pop him out of source and just reuse him. So if your opponent has a big thing on the board, you could just like keep Taimoning them down to like a smaller level to make them like lose whatever effect they might have, or like lose DP, and then you can just bully them. So I really like that. And Gaiamon's effective, like the link +1 doesn't seem super crazy, but it is nice. Like you can just stack protection plus something else, or you know, protection or plus de-digivolve. You can really use that second link slot really flexibly. So whatever like the game state looks like, you kind of adapt to it. Some of the challenges I will say, right now the card pool is really limited, right? It's only from this set, and building it I was like, oh, actually I don't have a lot of options because the deck kind of needs the other link cards, and there's not really any space for like something else, or not much else. And Bandai, it seems like they were really thoughtful about the way they put that deck together, where it kind of feels like you need most of the cards, right? Like you've got the option card, App Link, which lets you search cards, but also it trashes cards that aren't grabbed. So then later you have to use the Gossipmon to... Is it Gossipmon? I think it's the Gossipmon, the purple one, right? To basically grab back pieces that you've thrown away that you might need later on. So it feels like that was a very thoughtful decision. And another one of the challenges is, it's great when you de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, but if they de-digivolve one of yours, things get really wacky, because suddenly you realize that like you've taken cards out of the sources to link from like the Globemon or the Gaiamon effect, and then you realize that like that one de-digivolve has like thrown your entire stack out of whack, and you have to use memory to fix your stack. That's like getting de-digivolved really hurts in this deck, it feels like. And anytime I got to Digimon, I was like, well, that's me, I guess. I guess I'll just die. Like, they can, like, not be removed from the board, but being de-digivolve still really hurts. And so that's pretty much Appmon in a nutshell. Like, honestly, this might be easier to use. It won't teach you Digimon, but it might be easier for a beginner to use this deck than I think the adventure deck. All the effects are pretty straightforward. You typically don't have to worry about any like inheritance effects. And if you want to think about it, like you could think of your link effect as your inheritance effect, and that means you only have 1 at a time, or at most 2. So yeah, if you haven't tried this deck at all, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. The Globemon being able to delete a Digimon and then basically get Sec +1 and App Link, hit for 2, and then evolve into Gaiamon. You can off the Charismamon, App Link or Link, and then he can unsuspend your opponent, removes the security, and you can attack 1 more time. Feels great. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions about Appmon? I feel like this deck is like pretty like set right now. The 3M deck? What is the 3M deck? Oh, Three Musketeers. Yeah. The one thing I will say is that they came out with the Three Musketeers cards that are also the Appmon cards, and I didn't really use any of them in this deck, with the exception of Scopemon. Scopemon's awesome because it's just like cycle. But yeah, like the Three Musketeers things, I think are a little bit, yeah, they're different. Like I couldn't find a good use for the Satellite Mon, I think his name is. The guy with the huge gun in your face. What do you think about aces for the deck? I did not consider aces. In my testing, I never used any aces. My two worries are the searches will just screw me. So like the aces just get bottom decked anyway. And if I want to keep my Globemon around, Shadow Seraphi, I suppose. If I want to keep my Globemon around, well, then when I evolve into Shadow Seraphi, like, then what do? I just have a Shadow Seraphi on the board. Like, I don't know. My question is, like, would I have rathered just Charismamon linked and then just ended the turn that way? I guess you could do both, right? I guess that's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. I never gave in the Shadow Seraphian a try. Gallant Crimson Ace, I guess for level 7s, it's actually not a bad idea. Yeah, it's just the deck needs a way. Right now, the colors are all over the place, so it's really hard. It's really hard to like focus in on one thing because you've got like a red Tamer, Gatchmon's red. I guess like most of the main line is red, but things like Timemon, who you typically want to evolve into, aren't red. Navimon or Navimon is green. Feels like it needs a bit more defense. Yeah, I kind of feel the way as well, especially when there's Digivolve involved. But I don't know if you can ace around that, you know. Are you using any search cards other than the Navi and Applink? No, for my build, like the early week 1 build, I didn't use anything else. Like I think folks mentioned Analog Youth. Never gave that a shot. I think you'd have to change the deck fundamentally in a big way if you're using Analog Youth though. Scale of 1 to 5, Appmon fun at locals rating 5. The Three Musketeers, level 5 protection from DDG, but not app using Hurts. Yeah. Oh yeah, he does give you protection, doesn't he? I didn't realize that. Red, purple Mimbus in the future. The thing is, like, when I played the deck, I never felt to myself that, like, I do these weird, wacky, like, Digivolves. It's normally, like, level 3, Timemon, Dogachmon? And then go into Globemon. Like, that's the line. I think I got those names right. Like, I never want to evolve into Dogachmon just because, like, he's a 3-cost evolve. And I'm like, what am I doing evolving for? Someone suggests running Hades Force in Adventure? Damn, that's hateful. I've been trying Garnet Memory Boost? Garnet actually doesn't sound bad, actually. Like, red and black might be the move. Yeah, if you app use, it's free, but, like, yeah, like I don't want to make any wild. Like I usually have like I really like Timon. I'm gonna put it out there. Like I really like Timon just because defensively or to evolve he's cheap and he has like a great effect that's really annoying for opponents to deal with. It's like, hey man, that's a really cool Hexabloodmon you have there, and it's gone. But that's Appmon. I hope Digimon doesn't become like Yu-Gi-Oh, where all the decks have protection or negate monsters. Do you think it's heading at? Some decks do. I think all decks have some way to save themselves. It feels like within the past year, that's been a really big thing. Whether it's the Charismamon for Gaiamon or it's, the Gamamon cards being able to recurse themselves in some way. I think all decks have some way to protect themselves when, destruction is becoming more rampant. And I think that's a good thing. I think it keeps the game more high pace, whereas you get something wiped and your opponent just like builds from level 3 for the turn. And like the game is over essentially. They can't do anything. I can understand why they give decks like some sort of protection. Why do you give Appmon as having better removal than Adventure? Because Appmon has like really easy de-Digivolve at almost any point, no matter what level Digimon you have on the board, and it's got tons of explosions. Whereas if I want to do the explosions in Adventure, I have to get to my level 6, or I have to get to level 5 and have like some things set up, like have like Tamer set up, and yeah, or I have to play an ace, and if the ace dies, then well, that's it. Like that's the game basically. So yeah, Digivolve is very powerful right now in the game. So that's Appmon. Hopefully I answered your question. Hopefully. Counting Digivolve as a removal. When Hexabloodmon is on the board, that's removal. That's crazy. You don't think that's the case? That's insane. You know what? Let me boot up Galaxy real fast and that's crazy. When you can't swing to get an effect, I don't know, man. That's wild. Red Hybrid, we'll get there. I did a super deep dive. on Red Hybrid this past week. So let's take a look. I have a bunch of decks to get through. So the next one is Galacticmon. Speaking of defense, Jesus. What can I say about Galacticmon that hasn't already been said? Ragnarok Cannon. This is a really cool card, and it's a little harder to use than I thought it was going to be. But damn it, when it works, it works. And the fact that Galacticmon every single turn pops a Digimon makes it a little bit easier to get there. Although some decks do go wide now, so it's a little bit harder. But his effect of just like always putting the pressure on an opponent to have at least 2 things on the board is really good. it'll make your opponent make some like really wonky plays. Destro, the promo Destromon, not the new one from this set, but the promo Destromon hitting Tamers still feels amazing. That's incredible to me. It just, whereas most decks in the game can do very little to Tamers at all, this deck actively hates them, and your opponent can have like 2 Tamers on the board, Destromon comes out, and it's just like, and they're gone. And yeah, like good old Spiral Kai said in chat, like it never feels like you're out of the game because you've got now like access to Digi-Crossing. Once you've built up your trash with a couple of Venmon, I think that it really feels like you can just like pop out like a level 5 or level 6 in a single turn, no problem. And with the new Zenith cards, like giving memory or like giving you memory and card draw, pretty nice. Yeah, Snatchmon also having the Digi-Cross as well. And so like I think that the deck, it is like, I think it's very obvious to most folks that it's a very defensive deck, right? Like you basically build a huge wall who's hard to remove. He can end attacks, he can block stuff, he can redirect. You know, you can pop level 4s now thanks to some of the new cards. You can just pop cost 4s whenever you lose Venmon in your sources, which is actually a little bit more useful than I thought it'd be. I didn't think it would do very much, but it actually felt very nice. And yeah, it's just a pretty fun deck. Some of the things that I thought were difficult, it does take up some time to collect Venmon. In most decks that I play a little bit more aggressive decks typically, so this is like a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but in most decks I usually like to have like a Digimon in the back, play Digimon on board, and then I can always like kind of manage the board state so that if, you know, I feel like there's not a threat coming, I can push out the second Digimon, or if I think a threat is coming, I can keep one in the back in case my Digimon in the battle area gets wiped. With this deck, turn 1, turn 2, I'm like pushing everything out because I hope it dies. Like, right, I want to use the Venmon to either search out for more Venmon, build up the trash, or to just like off themselves like going into security, and then I can just like build up like 2 or 3 waves of Venmon, and then I can start to build my actual like Galacticmon stack. So that's the idea. It does take some time, especially in a game where things I think are speeding up quite a bit. You might find yourself like trying to play catch up, and that's probably why you need those Digi-Crosses I mentioned before. And some of the challenges, like I mentioned, entirely wiping the board for Ragnarok Cannon to get its delay effect off can sometimes be tough. You know, we've got like or like deletion protection, effect protection. You've got Digimon who, like when they're deleted, they play another Digimon from sources, or like armor purging. There's lots of ways that decks can fight against that effect. So like I mentioned before, Ragnarok Cannon is a fantastic card. When it works, but making sure you get it to work is the harder part. Thankfully, it itself like destroys something, and then Galacticmon also destroys something. So they're like actively trying to help you out, you know what I mean? And yeah, that was pretty much my Galacticmon like excursion. Man, it's a shame those promo Destromons are not being reprinted anytime soon. So I guess my question is, any questions? What pose is Zenith doing? I don't know, man. That's that world champion pose, right? People are like, how did he win? And then you look at Ragnarok Cannon and you're like, oh, I get why he's the world champion now. It makes sense, yeah. Can new Galacticmon put Fusionize or Ragnarok Cannon in its sources? I don't think it can. At least not to my knowledge. I could be wrong there, though. Let's check it out. Whoops. Moving ahead of myself. Honestly, they also should have just called him Ragnamon, like they do in Japanese. By placing 4 cards of Venmon in their text from your trash? Oh, I guess you can, huh? It's just 4 cards. Yeah. I never did it because I always thought it was like just like Venmon in the text Digimon, but no, it's actually Fusionized too, I guess. That's funny. Yeah, it's definitely got Venmon in his text, so yeah, that's funny. I mean, you won't get a security effect, but you get the idea. Destro coming in billion bullets, right? Yes, it says card. Really? Does it? Billion bullets, I think, doesn't come out until June, July? It's actually not that far away. All right. Oh yeah, the 3K on the egg is so nice. In a game now, especially this set where so many things can get over 15K now, 17K Galacticmon is pretty good. It's pretty annoying to deal with too. Owen didn't update his Greymon Toolbox deck for Worlds. What are you talking about, bro? Greymon OTK is still a thing. He should be getting over 15,000 anyway. LM is in October? Oh, never mind. It's a wrap, bro. I gotta start fighting people in the streets for their promo Destromons. That's crazy. Question really is how much draw power matters. Oh, it matters. It matters. As a Greymon enjoyer, oh, it matters. Oh, yeah. Do they have... It says cards, so you can actually stack the eggs. You're right. That's funny. So you can have like a 20K Galacticmon if you stack 2 eggs in there. That's insane. 3K egg. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so I think that's pretty much everything for Galacticmon. Let's take a look next at My favorite deck by far, not the best deck, but my favorite deck to play with this past week has been Gamamon. The more I played with this deck, the more I loved it. I liked the old Gamamon deck a lot, but it was really hard to use, I think.